Hello, everybody. Welcome back to My Teen Angst Has a podcast. This is episode 2 of the show. Here with you is Kyle and
Jaimie.
We are here to bring you through the world of various teen dramas brought to you by, I don't even know, many companies, many directors, many countries. We're gonna go through a lot of these fun shows as the time goes on. But we've started with the Canadian, I would say, underground staple, underrated staple, Radio Free Roscoe. So if you haven't heard our first episode of the podcast, please go and check that out. You can follow along as well. All the episodes for Radio Free Roscoe are on YouTube. However, if you don't want to watch a show and you just want to listen along and you remember these episodes from when you were younger, that's cool too. But yeah, Jaimie, how have you been? How have you been since the last time you recorded? How's things?
Oh, doing great. Got a few more episodes of RFR in. Feeling pretty good. Feeling real nostalgic. So yeah, I've been good.
It's funny how some of these things are just like ingrained in my like conscience. Like I don't even know.
There's a couple in these episodes. There's a couple songs they sang that I'm like, wow, that song's actually been going in and out of my brain for the last 15 years. Huh.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. How about like RFR in general? How after watching the first 3 episodes, recording a cool podcast about it, how are we feeling about the show? What have we learned about it and ourselves up until this point? What do you think?
It's one of those shows where the actors are older than the characters they play, but I have found in watching as we get further in that like they really are teenagers though. You know what I mean? Like the actors themselves, they're not like 20 somethings. I think the actor who plays Travis was the oldest one, and he was like 20.
Yeah, he was much older. Yeah,
that's just a fact I knew actually. But they were just like,
we know you're a Travis fan. We know this. This has been established early on.
They like watching it now as a real adult. I don't necessarily think they suit 14-year-old, but they are teenagers, you know, like there's that immaturity to them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're definitely not mature. I mean, I think they have interesting personalities, which is really what, you know, the show kind of thrives on. But you're right. These are definitely kids at the end of the day. Like they're, even though they don't look like it, which is kind of weird. Although I think like
some of them do though. Like they kind of, I feel like different scenes, I'm kind of like, yeah, no, that's definitely like Lily looks like not a young girl, but she looks like a teenage girl.
No, yeah. Absolutely. And I feel like at some point Robbie has a growth spurt. Like he must, right?
100%. I think he suddenly has like a bit of facial hair, and you're like, oh, he's definitely not 14.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if it's this season, but I know there's something about Ray's sideburns at some point.
That is definitely a full episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sick. Well, we'll get to that. One thing I wanted to bring up that I was reluctant to talk about last episode was just the creators of the show. So it's created by Will McRobb and Douglas McRobb, who are very well known for creating the cult Nickelodeon classic show, The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Do you know anything about this show?
It sounds familiar. I can't think of ever watching it though.
See, I'm exactly with you. Like, I don't know if this show just wasn't a hit in Canada or if it never even aired in Canada. Actually, I'm not too sure. But a lot of people have said over the past maybe decade at this point that this was like the best 90s Nickelodeon show. It's a live action show.
Interesting.
It was kind of like surreal, a little like whimsical and dreamlike. Yeah, if I'm being honest, like I don't really have a relationship with the show at all. I only really know about it from like watching stupid YouTube videos and things like that have talked about it. But anyway, so they kind of, I don't know, they've definitely gained some notoriety from that. They also, or I should say, Will McRobb, he would go on to work on a bunch of other stuff as well. He was one of the people who created Kablam, which was like a sketch comedy show made by Nickelodeon as well.
Right. That one also vaguely familiar.
That one, yeah, we may have seen that one because that one did play on YTV, but it was a sketch comedy show, and it would have like little like short films, like live action or animated, and that's where like Angela Anaconda and the Untalkative Bunny were born.
Oh, interesting! Yes. I didn't know those came from another show.
Exactly.
They just were fever dreams of my childhood, you know.
Yeah, I'm actually a pretty big fan of both of those shows. I will defend Angela Anaconda to the end of time. I mean, anything that opens up the Digimon movie will always be something special to me. So yeah, and then Will McRobb also made a show called The Assistants. Do you know anything about the show? It came out in 2009.
Nah, never heard
I don't
of
know
it.
anything about it either. Similarly to RFR, it's a Canadian produced show, but it aired on the N.
Taking
So
our shows.
some sort of connection for sure. Definitely Will McRobb has some close connections at the end, it seems like, and Nickelodeon as a whole. But one fun thing about that show is it actually starred a young Michael B. Jordan, who is like,
Interesting.
known for a ton of things now, like Fantastic Four, Black Panther, Creed.
I like that
Fruitvale
you
Station.
started with Fantastic Four.
I had Fan
that's
Four
funny.
Stick. Chronicle. That's where I first saw him, was Chronicle. I love that movie. And this one's just for you. Well, not just for you, but I know you'll appreciate it. He was also notably a co-writer on the feature film version of Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging.
Love that one. Damn.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
RFR, the blood, it runs deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't know. I thought that those are some fun tidbits to talk about that I totally forgot to really even look up or mention last time. But there it is now. So shout out Will McRobb. He also co-wrote the first Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, which I do appreciate, and Snow Day. Do you remember that one?
I love Snow Day.
Yeah.
Love Snow Day.
So I don't know. I feel like this guy, he kind of understands like young people. I think that's safe to say. Like I think, all of these shows I just listed off are to various degrees of quality, I suppose. But I don't know if like Angus Thongs and like RFR are any example. I feel like he has some sort of like witty connection to how young people think.
Yeah.
So
there's a background there.
Sure, I totally agree. Anyways, so there's that. I thought I would talk about that, and then a couple things that I noticed while sort of just looking up the show, and I don't know if these are things that you've noticed or were even discussed about in the episodes yet, but did Travis at any point mention that they were going to change like the tone of their voices for when they were being aired?
You know what? I was actually thinking about this when I was watching it. In my head, they've always had some kind of a voice changer. Like watching it growing up, there was always some kind of a voice changer so that they skewed their voices a little bit. But I don't think it's ever actually like explicitly said.
Totally. I think you're right. And I don't know. So
and like when you hear them coming through the radios of other people, there's no difference.
That's the thing, because when they're in the studio, you just make the assumption that like, oh, you're just watching them as it's happening from their point of view.
Yeah.
But then you're right. If he was going to change the voice, and you would assume it would sound different when they're in Mickey's discs. I don't know. It just adds to the whole somewhat confusion and maybe giant plot hole that the show has.
I got things to say about playing in Mickey's
I know
discs.
one thing you're going to bring up, but another thing I want to bring up is I saw this and someone commented on one of the YouTube videos for one of the episodes, and so I don't remember seeing this anywhere. So maybe you can enlighten me on this. But does Mickey own the warehouse?
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's a theory or if that's something that is like explicitly mentioned.
Again, I don't think that's ever explicitly mentioned that I can recall.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't yet. Maybe it will later on. I don't know. But
we'll dive into this more because I got things to say about that in episode 6.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. So for sure. And then the last thing, I swear this is the last one. I think I have finally cleared up my confusion of when these episodes were aired.
Okay.
So I think
lay it on me.
So well, we were partially right in that, yes, they aired in like the summertime kind of thing, like a Glee-esque premiere. And I think they were only played like once, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went on to do like episode 3 onward. Like they would then in the fall, in like August.
Right.
August, I think. So that is for sure correct. And then when the first season wraps up in like, I think it's October, then they actually broadcasted the first 2 episodes again after that.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually kind of around the time they were releasing the DVD, the Greatest Hits DVD.
Amazing.
Because on the DVD, this is me doing research, it says contains or also includes the rarely seen pilot episodes. So what they're saying is that like the other ones were seen more often than the first 2 because they were shown in the summer once and then shown
Right.
after the rest of the show was presented.
Which ends up being wild because the first 2 episodes are the most memorable in my brain.
I couldn't agree more.
And that's not just because I owned the Greatest Hits DVD.
And then I think, to my knowledge, after this point on, then they were showing those first 2 episodes like constantly as reruns kind of thing. So there we go. We can lay that to rest.
Okay.
There's also some really good bonus features on that DVD, and most of them are on YouTube as well. So those are worth a watch. It's funny to see all the youngest versions of these characters speaking in their interviews about their characters in the show. It's pretty funny. Especially actually Travis particularly, because he is definitely the oldest in the way he carries himself in the interviews. The other 3 are like, clearly like, I think they're all teens.
I feel like they're all like around maybe 17, 18.
Exactly.
And then he's like 20.
He might even be a little bit older. I think he might have been like 22 or something.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
For a fact.
He's 10 years older than me.
Okay.
So if I was watching this as about like a 9 or 10-year-old initially, he would have been, 10 years older than that.
That's not like so bad. Now though.
Fair though, but it definitely though, if he's like a 20-year-old and they're like 17, 18, they're still actual high school students.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
That is true. So anyways, just some housekeeping items, I guess, that I wanted to clear up. Should we get into the first episode?
Let's do it.
Or the 4th episode, but the first we'll be talking about.
You're pulling a Star Wars on us here.
Really? Yeah, I'm really going backwards.
We're going to start talking about episode 4.
This one is called Radio Wars. Not quite Star Wars, but Radio Wars.
Hey.
There you go. And this premiered August 8th, in 2003. And we have a pretty interesting one here. We have exactly this, a radio war. RFR is called lame by a rival, Kim Carlisle of Cougar Radio. It creates a predicament. As RFR retaliates with an imitation of Kim, this causes many other things. It brings up the name-calling, the dirty tricks, Ray's sexuality, and the lies. Wait, what? I'm reading this strictly.
I don't know if I watched the right episode.
I need to preface, I'm reading this right off of the Wikipedia description of this episode, and I'm not too sure how much of Ray's sexuality is touched upon, but okay. Kim does the unthinkable. She frames RFR for vandalism. As this is all going on, the gang feels like they are taking the station and all of its perks for granted. The gang has to decide what's best for Radio Free Roscoe. So yeah, let's get into this one. What kind of stood out to you about this one?
All right, my first note is just Voodoo 2, because I don't know, he says Voodoo 2 and it's hilarious.
There's Ray-isms that they're funny and they
are funny. Yeah, I can.
Did he come off really bad in those first couple episodes? Because I will have to admit, in this batch, he's not as irritating.
I think he's different irritating in these episodes.
But
it's not quite the
misogynistic.
That's literally it. I feel like if it's ever stuff to do with women, he is really irritating. But his general like personality is that is very on par with an annoying 14-year-old boy. So like I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is literally the character he's playing. Yeah. So I mean, it makes sense. But I think if anyone listened to our episode last week, you'll understand kind of why we had some issues with Ray. Although I think, not that I totally forgive all of that, but I do think he's better in these ones, this one as well, this episode in particular.
The character is finding himself.
A little bit. He's trying to. I do think that the episode opens up with the toilet paper in the cafeteria.
Yep.
Sorry, the TP and the calf. And I just feel like those are like words that my young mind always associated with high school. Like food fights in the cafeteria.
In the calf.
In the calf, which literally never came into fruition as my life went on. But
I definitely, we called the cafeteria the calf when I was in high school.
Oh, we did not. We called it the commons. It was weird. My high school was like a little bit.
Your high school was like fancy and new and probably just trying to be like progressive, and mine was old and
my high school never
couldn't fit everyone in the cafeteria. Like
And see, I somehow envied that. Like I felt like my school was never a high school. Does that make sense? Like
Okay.
it felt like a series of hallways. But
I mean, none of
anyhow,
them measured up to Roscoe High is really the.
that's a very good point. But I think it's also hilarious having the pranksters for peace. Those are
That's my
definitely
next note. Pranksters for peace.
those are my kind of people, without a doubt.
I
Um,
like how I really enjoyed how Kim Carlisle is like announcing in the exact moment.
yeah.
She's like the culprits have been apprehended as Waller's like walking up to them, and I'm like, wow, this is like real time announcing. Holy,
Well,
like
that's
the
something that
crap.
happens throughout the whole episode, where
It's true.
like Waller just happens to have the radio on at the perfect moment.
Yeah, like it's just okay, I have a yeah, that's actually yeah, so my next thing is why are there so many people at the school after school and like is she constantly broadcasting? So I like
Yes.
Radio Free Roscoe start making fun of her on their show, which we've learned in other episodes, like it happens after school. Like it happens at like 4 o'clock or whatever, like
You're right.
whatever
Yeah.
they say. And like Kim's just like also broadcasting at the same time, and there's like a ton of kids still at the school, and it's like I understand there's extracurriculars, but these people are all just like hanging out in the hallway.
It's
Like,
it's filled. That I don't understand. Like, do they have like a different system of like class periods or something? Like how
yeah.
long? Like I find that confusing. How long does Cougar Radio go for in the evenings?
Well, and because she start like they're before school starts and she's broadcasting. School's
Yeah.
over, she's broadcasting. And I said I wondered like what happened to the other people who auditioned in the first episode, like Robbie and Travis did. Like she's
That's a
the
good
only
point too.
one ever broadcasting. Kim's just constantly broadcasting. She's the only one who works for Cougar Radio apparently, even though there was other people to begin with. So Kim has
Well,
nothing else going on.
I don't know if that ever changes though. Like, does anyone else?
It
I guess. Oh
doesn't.
no. Wait, what about River Pierce though?
I think he does work for them, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, that's so blurry in my head. Although I know it's very prevalent in the show, of course.
I think
But
it's going to happen sooner than you think, too.
I think you're right. I think you're right. But you raise a very good question. Like, how the hell does this actually work? Like, the way the episode presents it is, it almost seems like it's just happening during regular school hours, not after school, which is even
Yeah.
more confusing.
Yeah.
Because then there's also kids at like Mickey's Discs, and it's like, does anyone go to school here? Like, what's happening?
Right?
But I don't know. That is absolutely confusing. I also really enjoy Travis's use of the flip phone in this episode.
I agree.
I love when he just busts it out and he's using it like horizontally, which is really funny because I don't know if anyone ever did that.
Because he's a cool guy who came from Japan.
Yeah,
That's how they do it in
Hong
Japan.
Kong. Came from Hong Kong.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. That was my bad.
Yeah.
I should know more.
Yeah, come on. You know that. You know how old he is. You should know that.
I feel like in my head, I feel like he went to Japan at some point too,
He may
because
have
he
traveled.
traveled from all over. Anyways.
But he was chronicling the RFR years on his flip phone, which I think is hilarious, and maybe I can somewhat identify with to some extent.
I think this comes up later in the episode, but in talking about the phone, when he pulls up a photo later in the episode, there's literally 3 photos on it. There's only 3.
So he's clearly not spending too much time chronicling the RFR years. 2 of them are also very similar photos.
2 of them are similar, and they're just like of Ray.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a little bit, but yeah, that is pretty funny. I also find it like a little sad that Principal Waller is really only concerned about the school's radio station, and this
Right?
will come up again in another episode, but like he's constantly listening to it. He's constantly concerned about the programming that not only Cougar Radio is presenting, but what RFR is presenting, and he's spending his entire days just analyzing it.
Yeah, like what else? Like, do you not have anything else going on, sir?
I mean, I have to wonder where the school's funding is coming from. Like, maybe it's all based on this radio station that they have, and that if the radio station starts to plummet, then maybe they won't get like, I don't know, track and field funding or something.
I do. I mean, it does seem like radio stations are a pretty big deal in this world because, like, in this Radio Free Roscoe world, because there is another episode where there's a list that's printed in like the newspaper or something, and it's like a whole thing with Cougar Radio versus RFR. So anyways, it just like radio, these school or independent radio stations do seem to be pretty important in this whatever.
And maybe we're just slightly too young to understand this. Maybe in the early 2000s, like high school and college radio really were a thing. I mean, we have a college radio station technically, but it's, you know,
Do
they
we?
exist. We do, and they exist, and they serve their purpose. They're great, but I think it's clearly safe to say they're not as prevalent as they once were. So maybe
Right.
it's just hard to like
People just do podcasts now. So.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's exactly it. Maybe it's hard to understand sort of the radio culture of this time.
Right.
Maybe that's why it just seems kind of funny to us, but I still think it's kind of funny. Also, I love the bit where Principal Waller says 4 words, stick to the program. And then it's like a running gag. Like, it's like, well, that's actually 4 words. I know. I think it's the first time I've heard that joke. Like, this must be the occurrence of, in my mind, where like
the first time that kind of
like that they weren't the first to make that joke. There's no way. But
in our young minds they were.
Which is funny. I mean, I guess like I feel like for both of us, RFR fills that gap of like kind of this like not childish humor, but like teen humor, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like maybe everybody has that show. You know, like where you kind of learn like euphemisms from like, I don't know, something you watched growing up and they just stick with you whether you know it or not. Like the best of both worlds thing. We talked about a few of them before.
Yeah, that definitely like that was something that I would say. I would still say that today, honestly, if I combine two things, like
best of both worlds. It just checks out. It's not like, because it's not like, I guess it is a quote, but it's not like super directly tied to this. Like it's not like I'm talking about like Hannah Montana. I guess I could be. I don't know where I'm going with this, but in my mind, it's just different. I don't know.
We heard it first from RFR and not from Hannah Montana.
Yes, that's for the record, that is very true. Also,
the way Hannah Montana is using the term "best of both worlds" is not the same way that Ray Brennan is using it, because she is not combining 2 words. She is combining 2 lives.
I love those memes where it's like, how can you say this and this aren't the same thing? Well, it's the same reason why I never see Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus in the same room. Those are so funny. Also, what was the one pen you had? Was that
yes,
Maggie?
I had it was I think I gave it to Maggie.
Our friend,
it was one
friend of the show, and friend in real life, Maggie.
Yes. I got her a pen. The song, it was a Hannah Montana pen that oh no, what was the song?
My best friend. I am your true friend.
Yes. You're here till the end. You pulled
so
me
it wasn't best of
but
both
something
worlds.
Ain't right. Talk with me now and into the night. We were never big Hannah Montana fans, so I can't remember why I got her this pen, and I can't quote the songs very well, but it was
2008. We were just starting to feel ironic, so it was like a funny thing to buy a Hannah Montana pen, because maybe we thought we were above Hannah Montana, but in reality, we definitely weren't.
True words have never been spoken.
Okay, so I think the whole Kim Carlisle like aspect of this episode is really good, because it's like it really solidifies her as the villain.
Yes, and like it, I don't know. I found it just interesting that they have this immediate like it's one against the other kind of thing, but like her like to get back at them, like her way of getting back at them is literally just doing exactly what they did, as though no one listens to both shows, which has been already made clear that people listen to both. So I wasn't sure where the like she's like oh, I'm gonna steal their segment. It's like, but now you just look like you're unoriginal.
I think she was just oblivious to it. Like I think she really thought Cougar Radio was like cooler and hipper than RFR. Right. So she thought like she could just steal the segment and it would be like hers now.
Well, and then immediately she's immediately like, all right, guys, lines are open. Anyone want to give us a call? And it goes on for like too long. And like in the background when like the RFR gang are all chatting to each other. And I'm just like, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed listening to her. And I feel like that's how everyone probably felt. Like if you were listening in the school, you'd be like, girl, just like, yo, cut it.
Can't be that practical to have the school radio station blaring on the speakers constantly. Like that doesn't, like how much, like we've been to high school. There's not a lot of time in between classes in reality, but everyone's always in the hallways listening to Cougar Radio.
I do recall this must have happened. I think this happened when my older sister was in high school. They were raising money for something. So to raise money, in between every period and throughout lunch period and everything, they blasted Mbop.
Oh man.
Constantly and
What?
like fairly loudly. And if you wanted it to stop, you had to go donate. And like once they hit their goal, then they stopped doing it.
Oh, that's clever. That is clever.
I think it worked, but also like that sounds horrible. Like that'd be.
But I fuck with Mbop. I don't think.
Sure, but like in between
all the
every
time.
class,
Yeah.
like for a full week or so, like I think by Wednesday you're a little mbopped out.
But like Kim Carlisle, she's been playing to the man, like I feel bad for her. Like she's pretty complex actually, because like she's just being told what to do constantly.
Well,
she can't speak for herself.
She's
trying
being
to have bullied kind of by RFR.
Totally. Right. So she starts trying to have a little bit of fun with it, right? She's like trying to defend her radio honor.
Yeah.
And Waller's like, what
radio
the fuck are you doing? Get back on schedule. You have no actual say in how this goes. And she's just like, oh, this is like, I think people enjoy this. This is kind of funny. And he's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. He's not having any of it.
No, he's like, get back on schedule, Kim. You got no say here.
He's quite controlling that way, which is a little concerning. Actually, very concerning. It becomes a bit more prevalent.
We'll get there. So my next note was literally so this scene, she's copying RFR. So then they call her to tell her to stop, not to stop, but like Ray calls her and is like, this is my beef, having to listen to you, which is honestly hilarious. Like I can appreciate that. He did a good job. And then Robbie calls and he tosses out the name's ? And I lost it, honestly. Like he truly, like, I feel like the rest of the characters are very like they have their radio names, which also, like, side note, really hilarious. Travis does not speak when they are on the radio. So like
nobody knows.
He does eventually, but like Smog exists in the background. But Robbie is like this is him. Like you've maybe heard them say Pronto or Shady Lane here and there, but like he is ? Like he lives and
embodies it. He embodies it. Yeah.
He really
owns it too. Like
totally.
Yeah, it's funny because like what happens at the beginning is they're sort of pulling jabs at Kim Carlisle, and they set up this like a, what is it called? What do they call it? Where they telling gripes. Yeah, they call about their gripes, and then Kim Carlisle copies the segment, and then this goes back and forth as the episode kind of goes on, but eventually they start to call Kim Carlisle a narc, which I laughed so hard at that. I just haven't heard the word narc in a while.
And especially on like in this context as well. Like
in my mind, narc is usually used for substances, so I found it to be quite hilarious. Also very funny when Kim Carlisle produces her own version of Shoddy Lame, which is nothing but self-indulgent garbage, which is so funny. I thought that was amazing. And then they consider her stuff.
Got some funnies, like Kim, Kim on her own without following Waller's thing. She's pretty funny. I feel like this is why she's the radio host, but it just it doesn't work for her.
Lily calls them an audio wedgie, and then Waller says that's a good use of metaphor. I don't know. I kind of liked Waller a little bit in this episode because he is just kind of like this passive character. Sure. And eventually he's just like, oh, you guys should just like hold a truce, which is a very responsible
total principle thing to do.
Yeah, it's very responsible. Which was the first times he's really been responsible. I'm
kind of happy that we are covering the 3 episodes here because I feel like there's a lot of mirroring of the 6th episode, which is I'm ? Which we will talk about, but like just Waller as a character in this episode, he's kind of like, Kim, just call the truce. You'll like this is not a okay, you've had your fun. This battle is not worth fighting at this point, which is not the case in episode 6. So we can discuss that more when we get into that episode. But it's just kind of,
that's a good point.
It's kind of funny that he's the way he gets he's kind of passive about it in this episode where he's like, okay, Kim, they hurt your feelings. Now move on. Well,
he seems like a narcissist because when it's about Kim, it's not that big of a deal. But when it's about him, then it's a big deal.
Exactly.
Which is not very cool.
Right? Sorry, I was reading my notes here. My note was the name's question mark, and then students literally cheer because all the kids in the hall were like, yeah.
So yeah, like at this point, is it just assumed that like RFR is a hit? Like everybody listens to it. I mean, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think back to high school, Kyle. Would I listen to RFR because I thought it was legitimately cool, or would I think it's stupid because I thought everything was stupid? So it's hard to say.
It's hard to say also for like time purposes, because I think when you think of high school Kyle in the year 2008, 2009, if someone was like, we started an underground radio station, you'd be like, okay. Like, you'd have no thanks.
I struggle with it. I can't go back and look at how I would feel. No. If it was like I think, hear me out though. If it was a YouTube channel, then maybe I'd think it was cool. Maybe. But also maybe not. I don't know. I mean,
like, think of the success of like because there is something nice about like Radio Free Roscoe is by the people for the people. It is like it is about the student body, and they're part of the student body. I guess it kind of like, I would compare it a little bit to the university confessions pages on Facebook.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That, like, you know, because like we never really had. I mean, I feel like every school tried to do like a Gossip Girl site for their school, and it got shut down by.
Like, are you? Are you talking about like in high school? Are you saying, or in
Well, I'm thinking in high school, just because that's but like it's people want that like place to be able to complain about school without getting in trouble. And the thing is, if you have it online, it's you can get in trouble where it can get traced back to you. But like with RFR, people are just calling into this radio station, and like there's not really any way, because apparently they're able to keep their identity a secret, no problem. So like,
that's a good point. You really reminded me of something I haven't thought of in a million years. Like, yeah, we absolutely had one of those in my high school. It was called Beth Probs.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I think we had one at my school too, but like people got on, like people wrote really mean things and like got in trouble for it quite quickly. Like,
yeah, I don't remember how it all turned out in my school, but I do remember I was very curious actually who it was, to be honest with you.
Like, I need to know who is
I just was curious to all extent. I remember there was this one girl in my class, and I would always bug her, and I would just call her Beth Probs. Like, oh, I know it's you. Just to like, I don't even know. You just kind of seem like the type that maybe it would be, but
meanwhile she thinks it's you. Because you're
honestly,
really
it could have been me. That was also the thing. Like, it's like something I probably would have done, but someone beat me to it. I don't know.
Should have made a Beth Probs Nexopia. Then you would have.
That would have been. It was grade 12. Nexopia was fleeting. It's funny how that only really like Nexopia was only really a thing for like maybe 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, or like at least in our lives. I mean, other people, because I think
the version we know was only really a thing for 3 or so years.
Yeah, this is definitely a tangent. But anyone out there who's listening, we're talking about the website Nexopia. It was a social media website, kind of like, I guess, MySpace, Facebook.
It kind of, I always compared it to being like a dark Facebook at the time. It I apparently, like, and I kind of learned this later on, but like I think it was much bigger in Canada, in Western Canada, than like anywhere else. I mean, like not maybe not in the grand like overall, but like when I read about it online and everything, it seems like it was very like Western Canada,
like focused, like people were mostly using it. Yeah, so this is a really specific thing, but if there's any Nexopia users out there, please let us know. I was the lights are off.
I'm not even gonna drop my name. It's not even worth it.
You can. I don't care. I proudly present my plus status.
Yeah, whatever, Kyle.
Anyway, I don't know. I guess like those memories really come back though when like thinking of something like RFR, because I guess like we talked about this on the last episode, and to an extent, like how this era, like 2003, is like right before like social media or like smartphones and like really like ways of communicating in that sense. And it's interesting because by the time like we were in high school, which of course we're going to reflect on as we're going through the show and probably this whole podcast,
one.
That was just a lot more prevalent, you know?
Yeah.
They were still kind of, I don't know, developing. Like, I feel like the 4 years that we were in high school were like 4 of the most like important years for like a lot of the social media websites.
Totally.
Because like think of like Facebook in 2008 and then Facebook in 2012 or Twitter in 2008 and Twitter.
There were so many, like I still vividly recall all of the Facebook pages that were like, put Facebook back to how it was. And like every time there was an update, these groups existed. Yeah. Oh, the timeline. Everyone was like, I don't want the timeline, or I don't want, oh my God.
Like, yeah, it was so confusing. And like, oh, it's so funny. A lot of those, I'm trying to think, how does it work? A lot of those, like, are they pages or were they events? I can't remember which way it is, but a lot of them eventually became like the opposite. I think it might have been events. I think events became pages. I don't know. It's like there's a whole like universe of content on Facebook that is like muddled from like a couple years of like poor organization.
Yeah.
I'm not really explaining myself very well here, but what I'm trying to say is things changed fast. And I think the way
RFR got in there right before all of that.
Yes, exactly. Anyways, let's head back into the episode a little bit.
Yeah, continuing on.
Yeah, eventually they want to create a truce, or I guess Waller proposes the truce, and it seems like a good idea to both parties, relatively speaking. However, RFR, they feel like they should still do a little something to end it off. And in my mind, they pick a pretty like middle of the road approach where they take a bunch of their RFR posters and present them in the form of like a peace symbol.
Yeah,
on
stick them up.
Radio.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. I think that was a solid thing to do.
Yeah, just like a way of responding without responding.
Oh, that's exactly it. It's like a pretty well thought. That, if anything, that's a fairly mature thing in a way.
Right. Well, I mean, Travis was leading it, so I mean, which my next note is, well, okay, hold on. They go to put up these posters of RFR on Cougar Radio, and they hear something going on in the hallway over, and they're like, oh God, we got to get out of here. So they kind of peek around the corner and they see, dun dun dun, someone is graffitiing Roscoe High's hallway. And oh my God, this is a game changer. So Travis pulls out his handy dandy flip phone and snaps a quick pic of the graffitier, which my note for that is Travis taking pics of graffiti. What a babe. Anyways.
Right. Very cool. That is
important notes.
One thing I noted there was that this is our first time where we see just Robbie and Ray together.
You mean Travis and Ray?
Oh, sorry. Travis and Ray.
Yes, and it's actually noted because Ray makes the comment. He said, like, when I said someone should come with me, I meant Lily.
Yeah.
And Travis is like, whoops.
Oh, well, sorry, buddy.
Sorry. Well, if I wasn't here, you guys wouldn't have a flip phone to take a picture of the graffiti.
I do kind of like their energy on screen together. I feel like they kind of have this like opposites feeling that kind of works.
Is this the Ray's sexual orientation thing coming up or whatever it was?
I mean, I wasn't reading into it like that, but honestly, it very well could be.
He's like, I wanted Lily to come, but I'm not
mad. I'm not mad either. I think going back to the flip phone, I love how the photo that he takes, it's later sort of used as, I guess, a threat, unfortunately.
It's like blackmail.
It's like blackmail, but it's to protect themselves because the graffiti artist is Kim Carlisle, and this is only known by Travis and Ray, and I guess all of RFR eventually. But she decides to blame it on Radio Free Roscoe. Well, or I guess she doesn't blame it on him, but it's assumed.
Let's be clear here. The graffiti that she does is RFR rules.
Right, I left
on the wall. It's not good. It's literally just like each letter a single stroke. Just RFR rules.
Yeah, she even comments on the penmanship. She's like, "Oh yeah, excellent penmanship, I hear." That's pretty funny. But as Principal Waller is on the mic himself too, I don't even know. He goes on some weird ramble about how they're gonna get police involved and they're gonna have a proper investigation.
Yeah, because they just assume because it says RFR rules, they're like RFR definitely did this.
It's one of those things. Sometimes I feel it's almost believable because like Principal Waller speaking like that, because I feel like every now and then there would be like teachers or principals that would do like just like take things a little like over the top.
I just feel like how do they not know that? Maybe it was the Pranksters for Peace, you know?
It could have been. Well, they're for peace. It doesn't make any sense.
That's a group that exists. You don't
Although
think they
I'm,
could
I'm
have pulled
definitely
this prank?
for, yeah, that, I mean, I don't know, is graffiti a prank? I guess so. I don't know.
I guess we've kind of crossed the line between prank and like actual like
Vandalism, yeah,
vandalism.
that's true. Kids don't vandalize. Yeah, but the thing that of course occurs is Travis emails a really strong piece of blackmail to, I guess, the Cougar Radio laptop,
So
and
like
it's
very
literally,
conveniently,
yeah,
as Waller's giving this announcement, Kim's like, "Oh, look, a new email. I
yeah,
better check it."
and it's a much higher resolution photo that I know that camera could take at the time, which I found really funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's of course just a very opportune photograph of Kim Carlisle spray painting the RFR rules onto the Roscoe High walls. And then the episode pretty much ends with Kim Carlisle stopping Principal Waller's broadcast and saying,
Because she has a reliable, very reliable source
yeah.
said that it might not be RFR.
Oh, I shouldn't say it ends out there. It actually ends on a really fun jingle. Is this one
Yeah, it
maybe you were
does.
thinking of earlier?
Yes. Give peace a try. Give peace a try. Let's give peace a try.
See, that is definitely embedded in my head for
I
sure.
for anytime the conversation of peace for something came up in the rest of my life, that
It triggers
plays in
that.
my brain. Yes.
I I have to say I think I really love this episode. I think this is a pretty well balanced Radio Free Roscoe episode. It features kind of all the things I love about the show, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it really like we already knew of the rivalry between the two radio stations, but this just really like I don't know. I just feel like you just get more out of it. You get more of the like relationship. And like, is this not the episode? What episode? No, it might not be this episode, but Robbie makes a comment at some point saying, Kim's not that bad lately.
This is that it's
It
the
is
very
that
first
episode.
it's the very
Okay.
first thing because he's like,
Oh,
Kim's
yes.
not that bad, and then on the just as he says that Kim Carlisle calls RFR lame and he takes it back.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
So you're right. So that is like a bit of a breadcrumb for like, his real feelings about Kim.
Yeah.
And I kind of ship them the more I think about it, if I'm being honest.
Oh, I feel like even at the time I hated her and was still like, but they kind of work.
I feel like Kim is misunderstood.
We can discuss this further once we watch the Donnie the Dinosaur episode. Okay,
Oh my God! Wow, throwback. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And then it does sort of solidify her villain status at the very end, though, where she decides that she will not give up, and this is not the last time they've heard from her, as if she's like Team Rocket blasting away again.
100% what she is.
So
Also, she was wearing a really horrible, like collared shirt in the end of the episode, and I just hated it. So we can continue.
I feel like just Kim isn't being allowed to be a free thinker. I feel like she's just being kind of controlled constantly. Yes. I want more for Kim.
And we get more for Kim as time progresses.
Only notable song that I could Shazam out of this episode was "Life of the Party" by the Planet Smashers. It's like a ska band.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know it. You know what's funny? I knew it. I didn't look it up, but I saw them open for Simple Plan in 2006.
No
2005?
way.
And they all wore like prison jumpsuits, and it was kind of weird. Someone played the trombone, which ska makes sense. Yeah. But all I remember is the song called "Pee in the Elevator."
Oh, well, we've all been there.
You're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, rip Simple Plan while we're at it. Good Canadian content. We won't touch on that anymore, I guess. Okay, so should we move on to the next episode then? Again, because unless you have anything else you want to talk about on this one, I feel like I've said most of what I want to say on this one.
Yeah, I feel like I keep thinking about things from the other episodes, so we should blast forward.
That is the thing with this, like covering 3 episodes at a time, they might blend in together a little bit from time to time, or maybe we'll be a little bit more excited to talk about things from like the 3rd episode as opposed to the 1st. So we'll get there. But overall, I want to say I did really actually enjoy this one.
Agreed.
So yeah, this next one here is called Clark Kent. This is episode 105 and premiered August 15th, 2003. So the description for this episode goes as followed. When Robbie's crush falls in love with his alter ego, ? He has decisions to make. If he reveals his alter ego to her, his Radio Free Roscoe future might go down the drain. Now, I gotta say, I think overall this is actually a pretty smart episode in terms of conflict. Like thinking about like, okay, kids who have secret identities talking, you know,
Right.
under these names on a radio station. What can you do with that? I think
Right.
it's a pretty
Well,
well written episode.
yeah, and I think in the first episode when Robbie's trying to convince Ray to join, he mentions like, Ray, we're gonna do this radio station, like you're gonna get so many girls from it. And then it's mentioned later on that they have their secret identities, and Ray's like, I'm not getting any girls from this because I am to have a secret identity. Like
Right.
it's brought up, so it's kinda funny that this episode is about Robbie having that exact problem, that he is now trying to get this girl who he's essentially gotten. Like she has already,
More or less, yeah.
she likes question mark, which is him, but
It's complex.
it is. So, yeah.
That being said, the episode does a pretty good job of actually kind of talking about power dynamics and
In the group.
yeah, well, not in the group, but even just between like someone of a certain stature or praise.
Yes.
And I thought, or like idolization, like that's pretty interesting, and handled pretty well, I would say overall, especially for like these are kids, these aren't adults, they're learning. However, I will say the episode does just open up with creepy boys watching girls come out of gym class.
First thing I wrote is, "Ew, Robbie, don't watch girls leave the change room."
That
And
is
the
so
thing is, too,
creepy.
they also come out of the change room and they're all still in gym clothes, so I don't understand.
Yeah,
What?
and Ray makes some weird comment like, "Oh, is it what you imagined?" And Robbie's like, "Oh, it's better than I imagined," or something like that.
I will only let it pass in the sense of like gross teenage boys.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the only one who can let it pass. Yeah,
That's the only thing I could like.
I feel like it's weird no one called them out. Like they were the only two in the hallway, just like ogling in like a pretty upfront way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's
It was a sign of the times. Clearly, no one called that stuff out.
I guess.
So
I have this really embarrassing story actually. I'm trying to remember how this all happened. I was in elementary school. I was in grade 8. Oh no, grade 7. And me and my friends, we were causing a ruckus in the hallways. I don't know. I think we were like messing around with like the lost and found or something. I don't know. Like we ended up like making a mess in the hallway, and it was our bad. And one of the teachers like said like, oh well, like as a punishment we had to like clean the bathroom kind of thing. And we were like, damn, okay. And there was like 4 of us, so it wasn't like that big of a deal, I guess. Like it wouldn't take that long to clean the bathroom. We just like scrubbed down some stuff. But it was like a weird punishment where we were told we had to clean like the girls' bathroom. And so
interesting.
yeah, so okay, and we're like, all right, like we're in trouble, and like, what are we gonna say? Like, no, I guess. Like, it was kind of hard to say no, I guess.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're like in the girls' washroom, like cleaning, guys, like spraying down the lockers and the mirrors and whatever. Not thinking too much about it, and like we're kind of wrapping up, and as we're done, like all of the girls who are like in gym class, they roll in to the girls' washroom, and it's like me and my 3 friends with like a spray bottle and like paper towel. Oh, and they're the grade 8 girls too, so they're like the cool girls of the school, I guess.
Oh my god.
And I don't think I've been more embarrassed in my entire life. I mean, we weren't doing anything bad, I guess, but we were in the girls' washroom, and
there was that level of like embarrassment of just being in the bathroom, right?
Yes,
like just being, because like that's like, like, did you ever have, I'm sure you did, where you'd like walk down the hallways next to your friends and they try to push you into the the girls' bathroom?
Yeah, I forgot.
And like for some reason, even though you clearly didn't do it on purpose, it was still like, oh man, that's so embarrassing. Like
you're such a weirdo.
Yeah, like you're like, I didn't do this though. This wasn't. It wasn't me.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is I'm still scarred from that, and so I just can't imagine waiting outside the girls' washroom in the fashion that Robbie and Ray were. Anyhow,
bunch of weirdos. Moving on.
Bunch of weirdos.
So the whole premise here though is that Robbie, there's a girl that he likes, and he is waiting specifically to see her leave that bathroom, which like it just gets weirder and weirder, Robbie. So
yeah, that is weird. I mean, I guess it's like
out of my way to run into my crush in high school. Like I would take different hallways, and I would like, because every time we went past each other, we'd give like a little like, oh hey, but like did I wait outside the bathroom? Nope, that's super weird.
That's definitely weird. I mean, I guess I don't know. Is it less weird that he was? No, it's still weird. It's definitely still weird. I don't know.
Why is he so aware of the fact that the girls are changing at that moment? Apparently,
I kind of want to blame Ray. I don't know how I would, but I feel like it's partially Ray's fault.
I support that.
And so he has this crush on her, and they go do the show later that day, and Robbie's kind of giving like dating advice, I think.
Which is hilarious.
Which is hilarious, and Lily's kind of chiming in as well.
Yeah, did it start off as dating advice? Yeah, I guess it did. The whole thing was like,
or like maybe it wasn't like supposed to be dating advice, but the first question was, and so
right. So then it became love bites.
Right, and the first question is like, well, how can I date if I don't have any cash? And then Lily's like,
fair enough.
You can go like there's something called going Dutch, and then Robbie says, "Oh, I'd rather go French."
Ray says, "I'd rather go French." Come on.
Sorry, yeah, Ray says, "I'd rather go French," I got a chuckle out of that, if I'm being honest. But the episode really picks up when they get a call, who happens to be Robbie's crush. What was her name again? I feel like I should remember this.
I didn't write it down, and
I didn't write it down either. I feel bad.
Her name is Starry Eyes.
Yeah, her name's Starry Eyes. So he gets a call in, or they get a call in, and he can kind of tell it's her, I think. Like, or maybe not yet.
No, not yet. They don't ever give the idea that they know it's her at that point.
Not at that point. And actually, that's right, because when she's on the phone with him, she says, question mark, like, oh, you're so erudite.
God.
Which is a word no one over the age of 24 has ever said. Like, I had to pull up a dictionary definition. Erudite, having or showing knowledge that is gained by studying, possessing or displaying erudition.
Wow.
So, I mean, I guess based on how she brought it up, I could see what she was getting at, but like, no teenager says that word. It's just not realistic.
That being said, when we meet her in person for real, Robbie's in some class
English, maybe
is in some class with her, and he's like eyeing her up. I'm looking at this girl and I'm like, this girl is 25.
Right.
In this class. Like, this girl is...
She literally is 25.
Like, I'm looking at her and I'm like, again, the 14-year-old, huh? Huh? You sure?
I think it's fun that they're reading Wuthering Heights. It's kind of a steamy read.
Grade 9, yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, we did, like, Romeo and Juliet in grade 9.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, actually, there's a funny gag in that classroom scene, too, because after he's on the phone with the caller, which is the girl he has a crush on, they cuts to their class together, and the teacher's giving them an assignment, and she says to this one boy at the back that his assignment cannot incorporate any live animals, which I thought was really funny. I don't know why this kid would want to incorporate live animals, but that is
we all know one of those kids. Come on.
But I also think that overall, like, even though he kind of like has to struggle with it a little bit in this episode, I think Robbie's kind of suave, generally speaking. I feel like he handles himself pretty well.
I think so too. I think part of it's maybe that little level of confidence boost because he like knows that she is into... Dude, does he know at that point? I'm still confused.
I don't, at this point when they're just in class, he doesn't know, but he talks to her. But he's very forward and not in a fairly respectful way, except for the gym.
So do we think though that confidence is coming from the fact that there is this random listener who is into question marks? So he's kind of riding on a cloud where he's like, yo, I can ask this girl out because, like, I mean, I got people who love me. Yeah,
girls like me, I think. I think you're right. I think he does have a boost of confidence. And so he asks this girl about, like, what she's going to do for his assignment or her assignment. And he basically lies and says he knows how to dance.
How to tango.
How to tango. He gets lessons, though, from Mickey, which I think is so cute.
So, okay, super cute. Really, like, I mean, your boy Mickey. But when Mickey and him are dancing, I'm like, is this like okay? Is that all right?
He's like, young. You're right.
Like they're literally like they're in his store, just like dancing, and like I don't know. I'm probably being like a little over the top. But I just was like
It's a fair
they're
point to
learning
make.
they're learning the tango of all things as well.
It's a little weird. I guess I don't know. I think the show
Mickey's
does
a good dude, so I'm
I do
like
too.
no shade.
Like, it's a fair concern to have. I think the show does a decent job of kind of presenting Mickey generally, and especially to Robbie, at least at this point, as kind of like a father figure to him to some degree.
Yes. Yeah, it does seem that
Um,
way.
so the show does a good job of kind of giving it off that way, but you're right. If you really look at what's happening here, it's a little strange, and I think I'd be lying if I didn't agree with you. Um, I do love Mickey. I mean,
He's
all
great.
said and done, I think he's a pretty positive influence on Robbie, and I like that about him. Um, and then the next day, Robbie goes to kind of practice the tango with this girl, and she drops the word erudite again. And at that point, he knows that she
He's like, there's
is
no other person who knows this word. It's definitely her.
exactly. And he also already knows that she's a horse girl. So
Oh
that's
my
Robbie's
god.
type.
So you like horses, huh? Robbie. My guy.
I don't want to be aggressive towards horse girls. I think you like what you like, and that's sick.
All right, sure. So my thing is just Robbie going, that's his like pickup line, like, so you like horses, huh? And then
Right.
she starts talking about Radio Free Roscoe, and he's like, he stops what they're doing you listen to RFR? Like, Robbie, take a
Yeah.
breather. You are so obvious.
Oh man, that is. Yeah, I guess. How does he know this stuff? I guess is the other thing. Like, he's just a little creepy, just a little bit.
I mean, I think we've established that.
Yeah, because I guess like nowadays, I would imagine that he would just creep her like social media, and he would find that out. But now he's like eavesdropping.
You know what I think? I think he has walked past her locker with it open before, with her looking in her locker, and I bet she has horse pictures in her locker on the inside of the locker door.
That has to be it. And I don't want to seem like I came off harsh to horse girls. I want to make that clear. I think men are equally as bad when they're holding pictures of fish for no reason. So
You're not wrong.
there's that. Yeah, and then the conflict kind of goes from there, because at this point, Robbie knows that this girl that he's interested in is interested in him. And there's a conflict, though, because it's not necessarily that she's into Robbie, she's into question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the episode title comes into play, Clark Kent. So it's like a kind of that alter ego, secret identity that he has.
Right.
And I think it's played off pretty well, because there is also this kind of subplot with Ray and Lily, where Ray wants to come off a bit more serious to Lily, less immature. And actually, I kind of feel for him a little bit in this episode, because he's giving an honest try, I guess.
I mean, honest try, really rough execution.
Without a doubt, there's no way to actually, but it's kind of comical, because it's kind of comical, because Ray finds out that Lily had a frog when she was younger, and it died, and she's still pretty sad about it.
It was killed by a car.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic, and he decides to buy her a new frog, basically, as kind of like I guess
I listened to what I listened to your stories. Or like she opens up about this like traumatic experience with a pet, and so he's like wants to prove that he listened to her. So he's like, I'm gonna get her a new frog,
which I think that's a nice thing at the very least.
I mean,
it's a little. It probably could do something else, but sure, why not? And then he does not execute it well at all, like you said, and unfortunately, he just puts the frog in a shoebox and tries to gift Lily this frog in a box, and Lily like shakes the box quite violently.
She rattles it. Oh my god, she just absolutely rattles the box, and he's like, no, maybe you should just open it.
That is. Yeah, and then she opens the box to see basically what is a dead frog, or an unconscious frog.
So then she's like, Ray, you asshole.
What kind of sick joke is this? Which, I mean, that's a very fair reaction to have, because, I mean, this is like pretty twisted, really. But also Ray doesn't really know what the hell is going on. He just like thinks that like the gift in general was a bad idea. Like he just read the room incorrectly. And then when she leaves this like their warehouse, he realizes that the frog is passed out, and he's like, "Oh shit! Like I really fucked up this time."
See, in the modern world, he could have just he could have just shot her a quick text and been like, "Lily, the frog's alive. I'm so sorry." But that's not how TV world works. So.
Or he could just like send her some frog memes and they'd laugh about the frog memes. That works too.
A couple of pepes.
Yeah, maybe not that. But Ray and Robbie kind of have this camaraderie about like how to handle love in the episode.
Right.
And so they are confiding in each other a little bit through that, because Robbie's trying to, basically get with this one girl and maybe ask her out.
And at this point too, so when they did their tango, when they were practicing their tango, now he's practicing with her, not Mickey. They kiss when they're done. And he's, caught off guard, but he's also like, bow chicka wow wow, I love this. This is what I want. And then this girl has the audacity to tell him that she was actually thinking about ? When they kissed.
That's pretty fucked, actually. That's pretty mean.
Could you imagine if you you kiss this girl and let's pretend that he really wasn't ? Let's pretend she's got a crush on this actual other dude and he's got a crush on her and they kiss and she's like, I was actually just like thinking about this radio voice instead of you. And
yeah, 14-year-old Kyle would be heartbroken. Oh. Well, actually, 14-year-old Kyle maybe would just be oblivious to everything, so hard to say.
But anyway, I was just like, girl, like
that takes a lot of guts, honestly. That's pretty out there to drop a bomb like that.
Yeah. And I mean, he's okay with it because it's him, but
that's a weird dynamic though. Like honestly, right? Like he is into it because he's like, well, that is still me, but she doesn't know that. And so he has this inner conflict where he's like, well, should I tell her that I'm ? If she likes ? She might like me. And the rest of the group, I guess more like Travis and Lily, they come to the decision like it's not a good idea. You shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And it's true. Robbie tries to ask her out just as himself, not as ? And she basically turns him down and says like, well, I'm more of like a ? More my type because he's kind of like a celebrity.
Yeah. And which Lily warned him early in the episode,
right?
And he says that he's got a crush on her. Lily's like, oh, it would never work out with you two. You're not her type. You're not her brand of guy, essentially. Like, because it makes it clear at the end here that she's looking for status and not
totally.
so much. I mean, I suppose she's into ? Personality, but it pretty much is a self-fulfilling prophecy where Lily warns him, and this is exactly what happens.
And you kind of learn you should just, not only listen to his heart, but listen to his friends.
Yes.
And that's an important lesson to learn. And also just if you have any kind of power as a celebrity or as a public figure, don't use that to make advances with people. That's a really strong lesson. I mean, in modern day, Robbie almost got canceled. So I think we should appreciate that did not happen. And right. I think that's a pretty solid lesson to learn in a teen program like this.
True. Yeah. I have just another thing. I was going to bring this up for the last episode. We were talking about why are these people at school all the time? Specifically, they make this date for 6:30, and they say that they're gonna go there. I'll meet you at Mickey's at 6:30. So then Robbie and her are in class doing their dance, super sensual. They kiss at the end again, which the teacher's super into, and I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't fly. I went to a Catholic high school. They would have been like, they wouldn't have let us tango, pretty much, yeah. And but anyways, she goes, I'm nervous because I'm meeting ? Right after class. What time? Why are you in class right now? Is it 6 p.m.? And she rushes out afterwards.
Oh yeah, and he's like, "I'll see you soon."
See you soon, Robbie. But I just don't understand what the timing of all this is.
I think time just moves differently in Roscoe. I think that has to be it. It kind of doesn't make any sense. Every episode, there's something new that doesn't really work with its continuity. But I don't know. The last thing I have a note here is that Ray leaves the "Good Luck Ray" sign intact in the warehouse, which kind of drops a little breadcrumb for Lily in case Lily sees that sign. It's like, oh, good luck, Ray. On what? Why do you have to wish him good
Oh,
luck?
right. Yes, Travis left it in his little box thing, and he's like, Ray, can you check out that thing in my little space there first? And then he goes,
Yeah.
It's like honestly though, and like you were saying, the dynamic between Travis and Ray, that's a nice little tidbit where like Travis is being so supportive.
Yes. And when
You
that
know?
does get messier down the line.
Well, we'll get there. But in this moment,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
cute. Like he's all for it. He's like, yeah, shoot your shot, my guy. But
and the friendship between those two isn't really solidified at all at this point. I mean, I think they just tolerate each other. I feel like Travis is more warm to Ray than
because he's just a genuinely warm guy, and it's just he's just great.
He's just perfect. Yeah.
He's pretty. Hold on, let's not go that far. But like he's up there, you know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all I have on this one. I think this episode, had a really good lesson to learn, which I think I appreciated about it.
Well, and we dive a little bit more into the effects of I'm gonna say it wrong. The
anonymity. I can't even say it.
Anonymity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's like these are high school kids who are keeping their identities a secret, and it's obviously like there is pros and cons to that. So
sure, and we get conflict within that, and then we also get conflict, within their kind of like love life, which it really is more, which is what this show will eventually become all about as time goes on.
That is what high school is all about. So
yeah, everyone knows that.
Yes.
Okay, well, should we move on to the next episode then, maybe?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we are moving on to episode number 6, 106, I guess, for the episode count. Premiered in August 22nd, 2003, and it is titled "I Am?"
A true classic. Like when I think about RFR, this is one of those episodes. And realistically, this is in our friendship. How many times have we been in a scenario where we drop an "I am?" like,
pretty often. If I'm being honest,
more
pretty often
than one would expect.
Yeah. So I guess we'll get into why, but this has had a longing effect on us, and I think some of the lines in this episode have stayed with us. I would agree, without a doubt. An episode that sticks into my mind when I think of RFR. There's really no doubt about it. And I don't know if it's just because we've been watching season 1 right now, but I feel like the season 1 episodes are a lot more fresh in my memory than some of the later ones. Of course, it's going to be hard to tell. We'll get there, but like these are just like the foundation of what I think RFR is, and this episode is no exception.
Right.
So the description for this one is: has RFR pulled their last prank? When they air an embarrassing tape of Mr. Waller as a teenager, Principal Waller makes it his personal goal to figure out who is. Meanwhile, Lily tries to get Waller to change his mind about the ban on headphones.
What an age! Such a strange subplot, honestly.
Yeah, like in a way though, this is like the most Radio Free Roscoe episode in a lot of ways.
Very true. Yeah. Very true.
Like a ban on headphones. Like what kind of like no dancing in Footloose type ban is this? Like
I was gonna say, like the episode, like it starts off and like there's this no headphone ban, right? They talk more about more dress code stuff that's being enforced, which is like, hey, I am no stranger to dress codes. As I said, I went to a Catholic high school.
Did you guys have a dress code?
Yeah, we had a dress code.
But like, to what extent though? Like, was it?
Okay, it wasn't like school uniforms, but it was very it was like we had our little code of conduct with very specific like for guys, and like this is Ray mentions this, no baseball caps. Like no one could wear hats in my school. And like your clothing was technically supposed to be like semi, not professional, but like you weren't technically allowed to wear like PJ pants or anything, which was like the style in the earlier in the 2000s, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So like you could wear sweatpants, but you couldn't wear PJ pants. So anyways, girls' dress code obviously way more strict.
Yeah.
Like no spaghetti straps, like no shoulder showing. Shorts had to be down to your knees. Like it was just you couldn't have ripped jeans actually.
What?
Yeah, couldn't have that. I remember a girl in my math class getting in trouble for that. And one of the things too with the dress code for girls, which I believe it stated this in our code of conduct as well, was that male teachers weren't actually allowed to, or they weren't supposed to dress code people. They were, or girls, sorry. Like a male teacher was not allowed to tell a girl that her outfit was inappropriate.
Right.
Which was like, I mean, they did. Like, I remember our vice principal standing outside of like the front office, very Waller-esque, I would say, standing outside in between periods, watching people pass, and he would like, girls would get dress coded if their like shirts or their skirts or whatever were too short, or if their shorts were too short. I remember coming back after I graduated. Me and my friend Jane went to visit some old teachers, and we got dress coded twice.
What?
For the shorts we were wearing, and the teachers like they like called us out, and then they were like, "Oh, you don't go here anymore. We can't tell you not to wear that." We weren't wearing anything wild. We were wearing shorts and t-shirts, but our shorts were too short. It was insane. Anyway,
I also went to a Catholic.
I got riled up about this when Ray was like, "No, baseball caps, man, that's so harsh."
Well, I mean, I really can't say anything because like the male dress code at my school, which would be the only one that really affected me. Obviously, I didn't. It was really not prevalent at all. Although I do remember there being, like female friends of mine, like, they had to go home once or twice even.
Yeah, that was it. Like, and if your shirt was too deep cut.
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, I get that, but it's like, this was like, it was rough. And yeah, you got sent home for it. And like, it's like, you're sending me home, like, you're removing me from my education for this.
A dress code can definitely be heavily contested and argued upon. I think that's pretty safe to say. But a headphone ban, like,
which we had that too. No headphones at our school.
Really?
This was years later. Well, it was, you weren't allowed to listen to iPods or whatever in class.
What's an iPod? I guess that makes sense. Wait, hold on. I'm actually rethinking my entire stance on this. So wait, Lily is upset, or the school, RFR, is upset because they can't use headphones in class.
Well, I think they kind of mentioned, like, I don't think they're allowed to have them at school, like, even in the hallways, which is how my high school was. You couldn't even have them, like, you weren't supposed to have them in the hallways. There was a point in time where for like most of high school, honestly, you weren't allowed to have your cell phone out in the hallways.
Yeah, ours was like that too. I remember. I definitely remember people making up some terrible lies to have excuses as to why they could use their phones. You're totally right. I forgot about that. We couldn't use our phones. I feel like there might have been some other BS, but I was just so like, I was talking to someone about this recently, like how like, I don't even think I remember like 2 years of high school. I think like grade like 10 and 11 are just write-offs for me.
Okay.
So maybe working through these shows, I'll slowly remember things. But with that being said, like the idea of a headphone ban as an adult person now is just really comic, like really funny to me.
I mean, like the kids have it easy these days, like with AirPods and stuff. Like,
they must, yeah.
I remember like there was a whole thing where we would like my friend and I, we would have our headphones go up through, and I mean, we were at least lucky enough that like we had like the iPod headphones that like whatever that we know today, I guess, like, but we'd fish them up through behind, like under our sweaters, and then we'd either fish it up we'd have our sweaters zipped up and pull it like loop it around our ears and into our ear hole, and then hide it with our hair, and then have like our iPod in our pocket. Or you'd fish it up through the arm sleeve of your sweater so that you could then lean on your hand with the earpiece in your ear as you did your schoolwork. And then if the teacher came to like question you, you could like put your hand down and be like, what are you talking about? So anyways, moral of the story, AirPods.
Wow.
Take away all the fun. You can just hide it with your hair.
Jaimie, I feel like you were oppressed.
I mean, like, sometimes.
Wow. Well, okay. Well, I take back what I said a little bit. Then I think maybe a no headphone ban was serious. Yeah. Maybe
and for us, it was definitely like I was one of the I was the type of learner who, if I was just working on schoolwork, like not when I totally understand when the teachers are teaching that you should be
Right.
paying attention. But this
Yeah.
is like as I was working on my own stuff, like I used like I listened to music to focus myself instead of talking to my friends, which I would have
Sure.
been doing. So yeah, I just like I always fought it because I was like, no, like the thing is like I will like this will keep me focused on my work. And
Sure. I think that's extremely valid. I mean, I can't even count the times like I've been working on something late night. I've just been listening to something while I'm doing it. So yeah, that makes sense. I think it's funny seeing Ellie, or not Ellie, Lily. They're interchangeable in my mind sometimes.
Hey.
It's funny seeing Lily bust out the petition though, and really try to hustle for those signatures.
And she just does such a terrible job too.
She really does.
Like, Lily, we've learned through the episodes that like when we see her try to do the what is it? The first episode she tries to play guitar in front of a real crowd.
Open
right?
mic.
Open mic. And she struggles with it. And then we have her trying to go through the school trying to get people to sign this petition, and she just fumbles. Like she just like it's her confidence with real people is very different than her confidence with the group and like with Radio Free Roscoe and everything.
You're right. It definitely varies like exactly in that way. Like she's a very friendly person, but she's not very personable, I guess.
Yeah.
Like she's just like not the most, she approaches in kind of like an awkward place, which is funny because I mean that's a very teenager thing to do. That makes a lot of sense. She's struggling with that, and Ray tries to help her, does help her actually, by taking his shirt off in the middle of the hallway and like,
oh my God,
diverts gets everyone's attention off of him in the hopes that he'll put his shirt back on so if they sign her petition.
This is very much similar to my high school playing MMMBop.
That is similar, you're right.
We'll stop if you donate money, or in this case, man. If you sign our petition, Ray will put his shirt back on, and my God, do we want him to.
That is so funny. I think it's funny because the episode kind of starts off about this headphone ban, and then it really morphs into something else. Because to sort of get back at Waller and the school, I guess, Robbie is talking to Mickey, and he's it's kind of like explaining what he's stressed out about, and the kind of oppression he's going through at school to some extent. And Mickey kind of reveals the fact that him and Waller were once Cougar Radio DJs. Fusebox and Danger Man.
Danger Man. Danger Man. So I honestly was thrown for a loop here. He's like, we were on the Cougar Radio show back in '78. And I was just like,
wait a minute.
Like I'm like doing mental math trying to figure out this show. So it's like if the show's in approximately year 2003, and like they were back in '78. I mean, like that would make these dudes like 45, which like I guess I can see it, but
I think that checks out. Mickey looks about 45 to me.
I guess I can see it with Mickey. With Waller, I just always saw him as just like I mean, I guess I see him as just like 40. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe it just seemed a lot.
Well, it doesn't help, by the way. They do the flashback is just them with wigs on, so that's a little bit. The suspension of disbelief is a little.
Yeah, that's true.
A little drawn out there.
So,
I think, yeah.
So like, here's my gripe here.
Okay.
So
hit me with it.
Mickey's like, yeah, we were on this show back in '78, and Robbie goes, boy, what I wouldn't do to get my hands on one of those tapes of Waller on the radio. And so Mickey gives one to him, and then immediately after it is being played on Radio Free Roscoe.
Like within the hour.
There is no way Mickey does not know that Robbie is ? There is no way.
Well, and they almost address it later in the episode where, like, Robbie apologizes for airing or apologizes for getting the tape on Radio Free Roscoe, and Mickey doesn't acknowledge it in any way or form. But you're absolutely right. Like, there's no way that he doesn't know that he is ? Yeah, it kind of makes the plot hole. It gets wider in some sense, but also more condensed. I don't know, And I think it's safe to say at this point that Mickey clearly knows who they are. I think there's no way to not look at it.
Yeah. And I mean, it does seem like Mickey and Robbie have this pretty chummy relationship. So like,
yeah, totally.
So Mickey's here to support them. Like he's not about to get them shut down.
I feel like generally speaking, Mickey's for the people too. I feel like he likes the idea of RFR and wants it to kind of exist.
Yeah.
And so I can totally appreciate that. But yes, we do discover that Principal Waller was once known as Danger Man. And I guess it's kind of like he didn't play the best selection of music. He was playing disco before.
Oh, it was 1978. So like
disco was dying, if not
disco
dead.
Was dying, yeah.
And I guess he's just embarrassed about that part of his past. And so when it's aired on Radio Free Roscoe, a clip of him being Danger Man, which is really funny to be honest.
Which again, he is fumbling through. He's playing around with like his radio, playing around with the station setting. Like I just anyone I know who's ever listened to radio, you have your pre-selected thing if it's like one of those radios, but at the same time like you have it left on like the station you listen to. You don't just like
that's a good point.
You're not just going through stations and then suddenly he's like, "Hey, I hear my voice." Oh no.
Yeah, you don't think at some point he would have programmed RFR as one of his like? That's true. That makes sense. I don't know. Like, I think he is unfairly upset about this. He is very, very enraged.
100%. This is where we talked about him being a narcissist, because when Kim was upset about RFR making fun of her, he's like, Kim, I mean, like, just the thing is, I don't actually care, so you should just get over it and continue on with the regular radio show.
Give peace a try.
He gets embarrassed. Mm-hmm. He gets embarrassed, and he is livid. He
enters a power trip.
Oh my god, it's insane. And he's mad because something from 20 years ago, something embarrassing from his teen years, it's only embarrassing. It's not incriminating in any way. It's just embarrassing. And he's like,
that's true.
On a rage path. Like, he is so upset.
That's a good point, because I think if it was actually something incriminating or, harmful, then he'd have a lot of ground to be upset. But it's literally just like a blip in his lifetime from when he was a teenager.
Exactly. And like the way Roscoe works, it seems like, I'm pretty sure most of the kids' parents of the teenagers who are at Roscoe now, most of their parents probably also attended Roscoe High and probably heard this song anyways. Like, it's not like this has existed now. So just like, oh no, my students won't respect me anymore. My guy, they don't respect you anyways. Like,
it does make me think though about like because like now in this show it would be relatively hard to dig up Danger Man, but nowadays it'd be so easy to dig up anything like this.
100%.
So you think the kids would just know? So maybe that level of embarrassment just doesn't exist anymore.
Listen, man, I'm 10 years. Almost 10 years out of high school. If in 10 years from now you want to show my high school's musicals performance of Les Miserables, where I played a lovely lady,
right,
I'd still talk about it. Just do it. Put that online. I don't like that's what happens. You do embarrassing things in high school and you get to regret it for the rest of your life. Not that I regret it. I had a great time. That's how it works.
Well, Waller, as like Mickey described, he was kind of just like an angry guy, basically. He kind of felt like the world was out to get him, and he still really feels that way. So he wants to get down to the bottom of this and figure out who ? Is, so that he can basically ruin his life, is kind of the plan.
That's like, he's so aggressive about it. He's just like, he
wants to put a permanent stain on his like transcripts or something like that.
On his permanent record and all that stuff,
which is very extreme. I mean,
could you imagine say he does figure out ? Is Robbie? Can you imagine Robbie's parents getting involved and being like, what? Waller, you need to chill. Like, you absolutely cannot do this to my son because you are embarrassed. Like I would go ahead and say, like, the RFR pranks are fairly harmless at this point. The ones against Kim were worse.
Oh, without a doubt. They were far more mean-spirited. This is really in good fun, more or less.
This is kind of to show that Waller was one of us once upon a time, too.
Totally. And it's not like he's, like, I don't know, even, like, really saying anything mean. He's not going on the radio saying, oh, Principal Waller's a piece of shit. He's just like, it's not like he's... Because I would get that a little bit. Like, I feel like you could definitely get in trouble for, like, publicly bad-mouthing
Totally.
someone.
But if anything, and I mean they are doing it to embarrass him, but if anything too, like, does this not make Waller a little bit more personable for the students?
Thank you. I'm so happy about that. I could not agree more. Like, that's exactly like, oh, he was a student once. He was on Cougar Radio too. Like, these are things that you would think, yeah, his students would respect him for.
Yeah.
But instead, he like takes it so far over the edge, and he's just on this weird power trip. He brings in like 6 or so guys to like test out their voices to see who sounds the most like question mark.
Which is honestly just like a hilarious little bit, this part.
Oh, so funny when they're like talking in like slightly like muddled and like dissonant voices to like.
All right, guys, act super nervous. He can't bust us all. Also, shout out to Headphone Guy.
Oh yeah, like, his Union Jack outfit.
Yeah, Union Jack Headphone Guy who like was like blatantly listening to his music so loud in class that even I was like, okay, but my guy, you need to like that is a little aggressive. Like
he's not making a very good case for the petition.
Yeah, exactly. So like that part kind of killed me, but so yeah, they're all on board here. All of these dudes are who Waller's trying to bust. They each do their part to hide the identity of question mark.
He looks at him too. I think it's this point in the episode where the Union Jack guy looks at him and he goes, "Hey McGrath, no fear."
I wish we saw more of Union Jack guy in the series.
Yeah, I hope he comes back. So then we have question mark, or Robbie rather, really kind of struggling with the fact that like, oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get outed. Like, I'm being kind of blackmailed. I'm being really put into a corner here.
And like,
because Waller really like kind of, I don't know, almost threatens him and sort of breaks him down in his principal office, which is really
and it's very direct. Like, did he say that to all of the guys in there, or did he only say it to Robbie, being like,
we don't know.
Destroy you.
We don't know, and I guess we'll never know. But it comes, the way it comes off is like, no matter how he's talking to Robbie or the other kids, like he's really talking to them with a lot of disrespect.
Yeah,
and it's really awkward, and it gets to Robbie, and he eventually quits on air as question mark.
Right.
And in a very emotional statement, I would say.
Okay, so here's just a question I have. I'm not question mark, and I'm wondering why it's all of RFR doing this though. Like, it's all of like it's right. I know Robbie has a lot to say on air, but like, why is he directly going just for question mark? That's
a good question. I think what I gathered from it, watching it this time around, was like question mark introduces the tape and kind of like sets up the spot on the air. Okay. And so Waller is just really irrational and just assumes that it's all because of question mark, and he's the mastermind behind his embarrassment. And yeah, you're right though. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. If anything, he should be going over the whole station. Maybe he feels like it's more, reasonable to find one person. I don't know.
I mean, like, in the end, isn't this kind of Mickey's fault anyways?
Well, yeah, and he goes to visit Mickey to be like, what did you do? Why'd you do this? And he's like, honestly, I didn't know it was going to go on air, which Mickey didn't, I guess, to be fair. I mean, but it wasn't a huge leap of faith to think that it would.
I want this for my own listening pleasure. Mickey, can I please have this tape?
And Mickey is like such a good guy about it still. Like, he really like sticks up for Robbie, and he tries to talk some sense into Waller too, which the man is really hard to
there's no sense to be had there.
It's hard to talk to. And then what we get is, well, after Waller's been on like this rampage and question mark has quit publicly on RFR,
yes,
and that he's kind of in a rock and a hard place at this point. They're in a class assembly or a school-wide assembly. It's a rather small group of people for 4 grades, but whatever.
I mean, like, we used to my school, going back to my high school, we didn't all fit in like any part of the school, so like there was just too many of us. So like, if we ever had things in the theater, they would separate it by all of the grade 9s, and all the grade 12s would come at the same time, and then all the grade 10s and 11s would come at the same time.
Or I remember something like that
if
too.
We had anything like bigger scale, we'd all be in the gym, which all of the grade 9s had to sit on the floor, and then
yes, I remember that.
Got to got to sit on the bleachers, which there wasn't enough bleachers, so you got in you would get in trouble for skipping pep rallies, but at the same time there were certain teachers that would watch you leave and be okay with it because they knew we didn't all fit in the gym.
Right. So you're making room for someone else, basically.
Yeah, so they kind of like there'd be like there's just certain ones that would be really like get in the gym right now, but like others were just kind of like, I don't know, they just turn a blind eye. But so
maybe Roscoe High is much larger than we think it is, and this is just the grade 9s and 12s, or just the grade 9s, because they're talking about the headphone issue. It's presented and immediately shut down.
Yeah, holy. Ooh,
and I mean, like
11 signatures short or whatever it was.
It's like, I guess that's fair, but the way he presents it is so like, just he's not really cued into what is like students want from him in the school.
Yeah.
There's no room for discussion, so the headphone petition is not acknowledged, even after Ray taking his shirt off for the greater good.
For nothing.
For nothing, I guess. Yeah, you're right. And then as everyone's bummed out about this like not happening, they're leaving the room, and eventually I think it's Ray, you hear, he says, "Okay, whatever, Danger Man." And
which like is hilarious because Ray just ruins it for everyone. Like oh my god, and like we all know that
fitting.
guy.
It's so fitting.
It's true. We all know that guy in high school who like takes it just a little too far.
And Waller's not having any of that. His blood starts boiling. He's fully like triggered by this, and he gets everyone to sit back down, and he wants to put a pin in this whole Danger Man RFR debacle. And that's when we get Robbie, who decides to stand up, and he's about to reveal his identity. And right before he was about to say it, what happens? We get, is it Headphone Man? No.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it is.
Headphone guy stands up and goes, I'm question mark.
Right. And then Lily. and then
Lily,
Robbie.
And Ray and Trav, and then like just everyone starts standing up with, The best part too is that Robbie never actually says it.
Oh, that's right.
He stands up, and then Union Jack guy's like, I'm question mark. So like, but like, if Waller was paying attention,
you could probably figure the fuck out what's going on.
Yeah, you'd be like, wow, Robbie's the only one who didn't say he was question mark. Must be him.
The plot thickens. So have you ever seen Spartacus?
I don't remember if I have.
Well, that's where this is from, right? Like, I'm Spartacus. Like, this is like a trope. And I didn't know that. I clearly was, again, introduced to like this, I don't know, way of sticking it to the man through Radio Free Roscoe.
I think if I would have watched Spartacus, I would have been like, "Hey, they took this from RFR."
Even in 1950. And I gotta say, the episode kind of ends abruptly because you don't really get to see
Waller's suddenly over it. Like he's just like, "Oh, well, geez, I'll get you next time."
Well, it kind of is a little similar to the last or the first episode we talked about today, I guess, where Kim is not over it either, and she's sort of still, made her point that she's upset with RFR. Waller kind of in
this episode?
No, I don't think she is, which is kind of interesting, actually. I guess there's not a lot of Cougar radio. Well, there is, but it's from the 70s. So it would have. I kind of wish the episode continued a little bit. I would have been curious just to know like where it goes, and I don't think like the storyline. Does
Robbie then go back to RFR? He has already publicly
said
he is not going to be on RFR anymore. Then he goes back and it's just like, psych.
Like we all know that eventually he does, obviously, but it's not addressed or anything. So it's kind of weird. Like I really felt for Robbie in this one. I felt like he was really bullied by his superior, which is
totally like that's like inappropriate. Like it was like
and I just make the assumption that throughout the rest of the show, like Waller, this is his character. Like I don't know if he changes much. Like, he might be a bit more passive from time to time, but
I think he's pretty like stick up his ass for the rest of the show.
But yeah, I mean it's really safe to say that the I am question mark bit just it's a bombastic ending to the episode.
Oh man, it is chef's kiss.
It's definitely chef's kiss. It's so funny, like I don't know. I guess it's a kind of a question you think throughout the episode. Like, does Waller actually know who question mark is, or is he just playing mind games, as they say? And you don't really know. And if I was Robbie, I wouldn't blame the man. Like, I'd be probably scared too. I wouldn't know what to do, I guess.
Anyway, like it feels like Waller's gonna show up at his like front door of his house and be like,
Oh, it's so real. This guy is spooky as hell in this episode.
Yeah.
He
Just scary.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's safe to say in my mind that Waller probably shouldn't be in a position of power and probably should not have his job. But I mean, I guess that's where a lot of the conflict from the show is coming at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a classic RFR episode. I don't know.
So good.
Do you have any closing thoughts on this one? Because I pretty much have said about everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I covered my thoughts on it. It's a good, I when the episodes start, like I haven't been looking at like the episode titles, and like these ones I watched all 3 in a row, so I didn't like see what the next one was called.
Oh,
and I
right.
didn't realize that we were already at this one, so it started and I was like,
it's a banger. It's a banger. We have songs from this episode. We have songs called Walk Out by Knacker. And then we have Home is Where the Heart Aches by Sub with 2 B's.
Wow.
They're a French-Canadian ska band. A lot of ska on this show.
There is a lot of ska.
I could have sworn I maybe heard a Pettit Project song in here, but I'm not positive, and I wasn't able to Shazam it. So we'll hold out on that. But yeah, this was a good episode for sure. Although, if I'm being completely honest with you, as much as I love the I am question mark bit, and I do, it's probably in the top 5 moments of the show, realistically. I think I really enjoyed Radio Wars the most out of these 3 episodes, personally speaking.
Yeah, I think I could. I feel like Radio Wars was more fun. This one was just a lot of like,
almost depressing.
Oh God, like yeah, like poor Robbie. He's trying to have a good time. Lily's she just wants to have headphones.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that is funny. It's a very well. These 3 episodes actually have been very Robbie centric.
It's true.
It's true. I feel like him and Lily are really the main characters of this show.
I was just gonna say, do we think that Robbie is the main character?
Like almost. I feel like as the show progresses, it's arguably Lily.
Okay.
But I could be wrong about that. I'm saying this now very early in the show, but at the same time, like I would maybe agree with you. Like it definitely feels that way right now because he is kind of like he sort of feels like the main host of RFR. Like he really kind of like leads the conversation.
Yeah, he's the voice. Because like I mean, he starts it all off with his I'm question mark and I'm wondering. That it seems like that's how every show starts. So
well, he's kind of the backbone. And the show really presents him that way as well. But I don't know. I'm stoked. These 3 episodes, like they kind of proved to me that the quality of television that I remembered RFR to be is like it still reigns true. Like I feel like this is, like nostalgia works in many ways. Sometimes you're nostalgic for things that really aren't good at all. And I could tell you a million things that I have nostalgia for that aren't good. But I feel like this show honestly is still holding up. And
I agree. I think
at least
so
in its
far.
first season. Yeah, at least in its first season.
And I mean, the first season is the one that I remember the most vividly. But yeah, I agree though. I think like the show itself, like I'm enjoying watching it. And I mean, like a lot of that comes from like having watched it before, but like I don't know, it's a fun, it's an interesting idea. Like it seems it's an original concept compared to a lot of other shows at the time. Or it's like it follows high school, but it's like it's a different level, High school isn't necessarily the main focus.
Well, it has like a fun like epicenter to it, like the radio station. Like it's a good gimmick to work with, and I think the writers of the show are pretty smart about how they figure out ways to like develop conflict around that. And I'm excited about it. I think this is going to get better and better.
Honestly, and I just on top of that, I was just looking ahead at the next 3 episods. Oh my God, we are in for a treat. Our next show. These are. Do you want to just like toss the names out, or do you want to look it up yourself?
Give me one. I just want the next one.
Next one is Political in Pink.
Uh-oh. Okay, right. Well, we got a banger of a show coming up.
I'm excited for these next 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this has been good. These 3 episodes have really kind of proven that I'm just as passionate about the shows I have been in my head for years and years.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that's where we'll start to wrap things up here. This has been episode 2 of My Teen Angst Has a podcast. If you want to write to us, you can write to us at myteenangsthasapodcast@gmail.com. Just copy and paste the title and then at gmail.com might be easier.
Or
it is a long.
If you want to follow along for when we are updating or posting new episodes, you can follow us on Twitter at myteenangsthpod.
Yes, we will post all the episodes there. That's an easy way to find it. Of course, you can find us on all of your podcast platform of choice. But if you want to write to us, maybe it's something we'll even read on the show. So please feel free to. We would love to do that. And
Don't leave us hanging like Kim Carlisle in that first episode where no one calls her.
Oh God, we really set ourselves up for that.
What have we done here? Never mind.
So that is My Teen Angst Has a podcast @gmail.com. And we're still taking suggestions for shows to cover later. I think I already mentioned it last episode, but we definitely have kind of a short list of things we definitely want to cover. But if there's anything out there that you guys think we would have a fun time watching, please let us know. We're open to that. But anyways, I'm Kyle.
I am Jaimie.
Thank you so much for listening.
We are question mark.
Yes, we are question mark. Oh, wait. I almost forgot something. When this is from the first episode, I think it's so funny when they start chanting, "Turn it off." On the radio, then like on the phone into the radio and then through the hallways of the class. It is so funny. So that just came into my head right now. Anyways, thank you so much for listening.
We're gonna turn it off.
Yeah, we are question mark. Thanks for listening. My Teen Angst Has a podcast. Take care.